Dear parents of Reddit, what is the most freaked up crap you've caught your kid doing? My son was 5 and had started playing Skyrim on the Xbox 360. One afternoon, the neighbor called and asked if I could watch her son, also 5, for a few hours. They played with swords, shields, Nerf guns, typical boy games. At one point I stopped hearing them. That's always a dangerous thing with any child. You know something is going down. I opened the door very quietly and saw them on the floor. My son was now wearing his friend's shirt and pants, and the other boy was down to only his underwear. My first thought was what the frick, but my son looked up at me with a sword in his hand and said we are playing Skyrim and I just killed him, so I am taking his stuff. All I could say was okay, but let's try to keep all of our clothes on from now on. This one is awesome. Well, from the age of about 2-5 I had a flock of imaginary ducks that used to follow me around. Apparently we had to wait a good minute or so each day when getting into the car so all my duck friends could come along. When asked about them I would say that I am their king and they are here to follow me. But apparently it started getting weird when I would pretend to break up fights between the ducks and cry when one died. Yeah, I was a bit of a fricked up kid. This is my favorite imaginary friend story I've ever heard. My brother hated bugs, and we had cacti in our front yard. He would cut their heads off and either skewer them all over the cactus, or he would take their head and put twigs in their body where their heads would be. Vlad the Exterminator sent the boys to bed with popcorn for a fun treat. Hear maniacal laughter shortly thereafter. Go upstairs to find one of them sticking popcorn between his cheeks and farting so it came out. Asked what was going on. Both boys in a panic tried to eat evidence, as mother and I watched horrified. I can't stop laughing, this is so funny. Walked into the bathroom to find my son trying to put a piece of crap up his butt because he thought his heart fell out. My fart will go on. Not my kid. But my friend went to pick up his little brother from his friend's house and no parents were home, so he walked up and found his brother and his friend holding each other's dongs. My friend is a 3rd grade teacher. He came to school one morning after having been out sick for a day and found that his classroom only had girls. Turns out all of the boys had been suspended the day before for teabagging each other during recess. Didn't happen to me, but a friend caught her 4-year-old son killing their kitten by smashing it with a book. He's been going to therapy but still, the kitten did not survive. The husband is rich despite knocking up a girl at 15 because his dad owns a construction company. He was born rich. Their son is going to therapy regularly and is not currently on any medication, but the psychiatrist may prescribe some later on. The parents are high school friends of mine who I keep in touch with. That's fricked up. Less fricked up than funny, but my cousin entered the bathroom to find her 2-year-old boy had covered himself in mommy's stickers. They weren't stickers, they were Kotex pads. And yes, there are photos. I fondly remember a birthday party at my then girlfriend's family, when her 5-year-old cousin came down the stairs from the bathroom, happy as a clam and announcing to the world, "Mommy, I stuffed cotton balls into my butt, just as you always do." Mommy was not happy with her son. Apparently when I was little, I ran off, naked, towards the local golf course. I was also caught making my butthole breathe in front of the mirror. Oh, and I picked up my little sister by the head. I caught my 11-year-old daughter using her mother's adult toy. I don't know who was more shocked or embarrassed, her or I. My wife handled it better than I. Of course she did. My mom caught my little brother descaling their brand new goldfish at the kitchen table. Was disturbing from what I hear. On the note of fish abuse, when I was little apparently my friends and I were playing house. My dad had a big fish tank he loved. We took out the fish and cooked them on the wood stove for our dinner. You blew it up. He was very upset. Son here, you know those furious wanks you some do purely to get your fun stick to settle down. Well yeah, I had been cooking cookies listening to music. Nobody was home, so I thought, 1 minute till the cookies are done I can do this. And I basically lay on the floor and furiously beat my meat with all my might. Finish. Open my eyes and behold my mom's full of shopping in the doorway. We didn't speak for a while and avoided eyesight. So that's the secret ingredient. I have been told on numerous occasions about how when I was 3 or 4, as my parents and I were walking out of the old spaghetti factory, I turned to a table that had a black family in it with a little black boy about my age. I excitedly exclaimed, "Look, it's a basketball baby." My parents told me this story of when I was about 3-4 years old. My sister was playing in her room one day and apparently came across a spider in her toy chest. Being a 5-6-year-old girl, she lost her mind and started screaming. That's when I supposedly learned what my life's calling was. As the story goes, I come barging into my sister's room, yell, "Don't worry, Kittis infection sister. I'll hypnotize it with my dong," and promptly dropped my pants. My dad laughed. My mother cried. I defeated a spider. My mother cried because I was her youngest child, and hearing those words coming out of my mouth just really made her upset. Not a parent, but my friend's little brother, who was 5 or 6 at the time, would strip down and chase me through the house with a kitchen knife. I was terrified of hanging out with my friend because of this. So after it happened 2 or 3 times, and one time his older brothers attacked me while wearing the Scream costume, I decided I wasn't going to his house anymore. Alright, that's pretty fricked. Not a parent but an older sister. This is a doozy. So my family adopted a 5-year-old kid with disabilities and also reactive attachment disorder from South America. She had been pretty badly abused by whoever had taken care of her down there, and needless to say, the kid had quite a few issues. There were a few incidents, but the worst ones will always stick out in my brain. 1. The kid would stare at our fireplace for hours. She would get excited when we turned it on and visibly upset when we turned it off. One day, we came downstairs to the entire house reeking of gas and we called the fire department. The gas key in the fireplace had been removed. We later found it under her bed along with a knife. 2. One day, my mom and I woke up to screaming from outside. It was maybe 5 AM in December. We ran outside to find the child pushing my other little sister. She was maybe 2 at the time, under the water in our fountain. It was around 40 degrees. The dog was also huddled in a ball, shaking from being soaking wet in the cold. We installed alarm systems that rang out when you opened a door. 3. One day, I heard screaming from down the hall. Walked into the bathroom and both of my little sisters are covered in blood on the floor. No idea where it came from and ended up taking them to the hospital. Still have no idea where it came from. After that, I didn't let the child be around my smallest sister, the 2-year-old with Down syndrome, alone anymore. 4. We had a pool in our backyard that we closed during winter, but that would be open in the summer. I would teach them how to swim. The younger sister, the 2-year-old with DS, hated water and would stand on the stairs or sit next to the pool with her feet in the entire time. The demon child loved water and would jump in wholeheartedly. One day, I realized that I was getting sunburnt and went to walk at most 10 feet from the pool to get the sunscreen. I heard the telltale screech and I turn around. In the maybe 10 seconds I had been out of the pool, the demon child has grabbed a hold of the smaller sister and pulled her into the water, and was attempting to push her head under. After trying for 2 years to make her successfully part of the family, we recognized that things were not getting better and that it was a huge safety risk for my smallest sister. It ended up driving a huge wedge between my parents, but we ended up placing her in a permanent group home for kids with reactive attachment disorder where there are many behavior therapists and where people understand what to do. Now the youngest sister is around 10 years old and she's happy, healthy, and great. We get updates every once in a while about the emotionally disturbed child, but I don't regret the decision to move her somewhere far away from us. Not a parent, but an older brother. When my younger sisters, twins, were about 2-3 years old, they filled the bathtub up with hot water, only using the red side of the 2 knobs, and took off their diapers and threw them in the bathtub. I heard from my mom that they inflated to huge dimensions. Oh, at the time one of them put an entire roll of toilet paper in the toilet, effectively clogging it. My sisters do weird crap together. My 3-year-old son figured out how to take selfies with an old iPad we had. Wife thought I'd be pee. Pics were hysterical, but not safe to show others. Wiped that iPad pretty fast, as would be tough to explain the pics to people. Funny because he was all calm in the pics. Batman undies, just one leg in, halfway up his leg, as he posed for the camera. It was as though he knew exactly how he wanted to look in them. More creepy than freaked up, but I was watching my nephew, who at the time was just old enough to make conversation. I hear him talking to someone in the living room and I think my brother came home when I was in the bathroom. I grab whatever I needed in the kitchen and head to the living room and hear him say, "Okay, we'll talk later." I walked in and he was alone and he looked back past me like he watched someone walking away and he waved and said bye. So I asked, Blake, who are you talking to?" "The little girl." "What little girl?" "The one who just hugged you," he said, laughing in that tone kids get when they think you're freaking with them. "I dunno why she did. She said she hated you." Oh. And while he turned back to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, I sat there with a million-yard stare screaming nope 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 in my head. Asked brother and his wife about the girl and apparently they know all about her. How the parents knew. Apparently my nephew told his mom and dad all about the little girl and how she lives in his room but mostly just outside of it. How she likes the new play place. My brother and I built one of those nice wooden jungle gym things, but she's sad it was built over her dog. And they know she's 4 or 5 and brown hair and eyes in a Easter dress. I talked to my brother last night and asked him more and he said his boys so far haven't seen the girl in a while. The one from the story is now 9 and his younger brother is 7. Both his boys have seen and talked to the little girl. He has a third son who's only a year old, so we'll see if the little girl comes back soon. My brother said he thought he saw a little girl in the hallway outside Blake's room once, but he was asleep on the couch and could have been dreaming, so who knows. I used to enjoy wanking it in the shower with a condom on, and once I left the used rubber behind and my mum found it. Awkward conversation after when I had to explain I didn't even have a girl over. When I was a kid, like 5, I went through a phase where I had convinced myself I was the only real person in the world and that my parents, teachers, friends, etc. were all just constructs in my own world that I created. I remember saying stuff to my mom and teacher along the lines of, "You can't do anything to me that I don't want you to do. I made you." I remember at the time thinking that it was strange that I would choose to have one of my constructs punish me. I decided that I was doing it because life would get boring if it was too easy. I eventually got over all this. My 3-year-old son asked this random woman in a store if she was scared in the fire. He said, "I saw you burning, but I couldn't help you." The woman turned white as a sheet and explained to me that she had been in a terrible house fire when she was little. 50 years ago. It burned her hands and legs very badly. I was very creeped out at the time. I'm still not sure what the frick happened there. I don't know if it's fricked up, but it fricked me up a bit. I caught my 1-year-old with something in her mouth. By the time I said to her, "What do you have?" she crunched on a few times and then spit it out. I went over to investigate and was horrified to see that she had spit out a lizard head. A freaking lizard head. In her mouth. Ugh. I guess the cat brought it in and ate the rest of it. She just happened to find the head before I saw it. Nasty. Funny, considering that's actually why cats bring in dead stuff. They think humans are just terrible hunters that need help. I bet they were super proud of your daughter. Not a parent, but when I was helping my 9 years younger sister clean her room, I found a pouch where she was storing dead flies. My little sister pinned my cat down because he was trying to run away from her. Broke the poor guy's hips from doing it. Like, how hard do you have to push it down? Not super freaked up, but was still awful to walk into him screaming in pain and her still refusing to let him go. For those asking, yes, he lived, thank God. I wrote this right after reading the other stories, so I guess that's why I said it wasn't that fricked up. It really is. It's been years and I still haven't forgiven her. She still gets rough with animals and I snap out. I know there's unconditional love for siblings and all that crap, but I don't like her. She's a freaking sociopath. That's pretty fricked up. Not my kids, but me. I dumped all my mom's medicine in the car vents. When my mom saw me with empty medicine bottles, she freaked out and took me to the hospital assuming I ate them all. My grandma tells me a story about how my uncle threw himself down the stairs in the morning so HF wouldn't have to go to school. Grandma took him to the hospital, got a cast on his arm, fed him, and then dropped him off at school. Not a parent but the older brother. My little brother at around age 6 decided to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but not just a regular PB&J. That day he decided to place an inch-long needle from our mom's sewing room inside the sandwich, laying parallel to the bread. He took a bite, swallowed, then opened the sandwich up. The needle was still there, so of course he took another bite. He ate the needle, then went to tell my mom what he did. My parents frantically took him to the emergency room, but I remember him being totally relaxed. He did do it intentionally after all. The short story is he ended up crapping it out a needle day later, discolored but fully intact. No internal or rectal bleeding. I think my mom kept it to shame him at a future date. My mom loves to tell the story of when I was around 5. We were headed to a family function and I wanted to be a big boy and do things on my own, so I went and rubbed glue all over my body thinking it was lotion, and ran into my parents' room saying, "Look mommy, I put lotion on." My parents still laugh at me. My boyfriend works at a preschool, and he's told me many stories of kids that are messed up. One that sticks in my head is of a young boy about 5 years old. He's always doing strange things to other children. Beyond usual, kids will be kids, fighting over toys, etc. Once my boyfriend called him out on it, saying he was being unfair and should let the other kids play with the same toys. During timeout, he sat next to my boyfriend and started plucking his arm hairs out one by one. When he asked him what he was doing, he replied, "I'm trying to hurt you. You told me what to do. I'm going to keep doing this until you tell me it hurts." It's not the first case of him threatening staff. He repeatedly tells another male member of staff that he's going to hurt and kill him, sometimes with graphic details. When this was brought up with the kid's mother, she states her child is an angel and would do no such thing. Apparently the school has had to get involved and is forcing the parents to make this kid have counseling. All the time the parents kicking up a fuss, saying there is nothing wrong with him. Not freaked up, just flat out scary. I am a single mom and I live with my 2-year-old daughter. One day we were playing in her room, and I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. I scare easily, so I thought that maybe I was seeing things. Right after I did one of those weird twitchy jump startles, my daughter looks me dead in the eye and says, "Demons." I just remember my heart sinking and my face tingling. Nope, nope, nope. Hey babe, let's go to the park for the rest of the day. LOL. I'm imagining a 2-year-old girl deadpanning demons. It made me laugh. Son here. I was a messed up kid. I had problems thinking before acting and went to therapy for it when I was little. When I was 5, I walked my sister across a 4-lane highway. My parents' car had broken down, so I could show her the cliffside and the ocean on the other side of the highway. She was barely 2 at the time. I don't remember this, but my mom always tells me this story. We are lucky to be alive. When I was in kindergarten, I found a turtle down by the creek. I thought I would bring it in for show and tell the next day. I did and it went great, but when my parents said I had to put the turtle back in the creek, so I got jealous and mad. I didn't want anyone else to have the turtle if I couldn't have it. So I went back down to the creek and threw the turtle as hard as a 5-year-old could against a nearby rock. The turtle bounced somewhere and I lost it in the water. Thank God. To this day I am still horrified at some of the things I did as a child. My son's room smelled really bad for some time. In fact, the whole house reeked of pee. But we have cats, and assumed that it was the litter box that was stinking up the place. We changed it regularly and used baking soda on it. Then I started investing in those liquid air fresheners that you plug into electrical outlets. It kind of improved, but not really. Anyway, one day we have his room a deep clean, thinking that the cats must have peed on his carpet. As we were moving his bunk beds, the leg got hung up on the heat register. So I bent down to unhook it. Then I caught a glimpse of what was in the heat register. It looked like a bunch of toilet paper had been shoved in there, so I started pulling it out. OMG. So much TP. So much pee smell. Apparently, the kids went through a goosebumps phase, and my son was too scared to use the bathroom at night, so he peed down his register. Ugh. His room still smells, but at least the whole house doesn't. Ugh. When our older daughter was 3, and her younger sister was 1, she would empty out a toy bin, steal the younger one's pacifier, turn the bin upside down over the younger one, and then either sit on top of it or pile stuff on top to keep her trapped there. It took us many tries to get her to stop doing that. When they got older, she always looked out for her younger sister, but I half expected her to terrorize her for their entire lives. My daughter was fascinated with nipples when she was about 3 or 4. A friend of mine was hanging on the couch and she had on a bra that was just a thin fabric and you could clearly see the full nip definition. My daughter casually made her way into her lap and proceeded to tweak away while, in her creepiest voice, said "Nyai plus, we pee ourselves." Son of a bee. I always miss threads that pertain to something I can actually comment with. This literally just happened today. I was sitting in the living room watching Cartoon Network. My 2-year-old was awfully quiet, which is never a good sign. I get up to go look for her and she's gathered up all of her stuffed animals, taken them into her closet and closed herself in with them. She had sat them in a half circle around her. When I opened the closet door, she looked up at me and said no, then closed the door. My daughter was hosting a stuffed animal Illuminati meeting. Dang, they recruited her young. Not a parent yet, but when I was a kid, I would steal my mom's personal massager and put it on my nose to make me sniffle and cry, and it used that to get out of going to school. Once I grew up and found out what it actually was, I about died, especially since my parents didn't stop me from doing it. My autistic stepson at age 4 painted his entire room purple. By entire room I mean everything. Walls, floor, bed, TV, everything. He was very thorough. The first thing he did after it was all sorted was empty toothpaste all over the bedroom floor. He is 14 now and still does stuff like this. He colored in his window with a biro last week. Oh, and he thinks putting a fork in a toaster before it pops is okay, but after is bad. My kids used to bathe together, 6 and 4, and I was walking in to check on them when I caught them with their mouths full of water. They were spitting water in each other's asses. Needless to say, we have 2 bath times now. My son is a little over a year and a half. As soon as his diaper comes off, he starts playing with his baby dong. By playing I mean mashing, punching, and yanking on. It's pretty normal for babies but affects a man's psyche to see, huh? So I guess I should tell this story about my sister that my dad loves to tell from when she was about 4. One morning, she goes upstairs and wakes him up early in the morning and says, "Daddy, can you turn on the sink?" Groggily, he responds, "1 minute. Why do you need the sink turned on?" "I need to wash off my feet." "Why do you need to wash off your feet?" "To get the peanut butter off." "Alright, I'll be right down." She leaves the room and a second later, he realizes, wait, what? My sister had taken all of the yogurt, butter, sour cream, cream cheese, peanut butter, etc., and covered every inch of the tile in the kitchen floor so that she could go ice skating. Son here. When I was about 4 years old, my mom walked into me pee all over the clothes in her closet. She then told me not to ever do that again and I told her not to make me mad again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.